Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Today is a very exciting episode. It's a feature episode, the first group episode. I'm joined by Dan and Nicole. Guys, thanks so much for
Hmm.
being here.
Thanks for
Hmm.
having us.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
exciting. And today we've decided to sit down to talk about paranormal stuff, which is interesting because, it's a strange thing for me to say, but I feel like I kind of need a good scare. Because I feel like when you get scared, something like interesting happens to you as a person. Like it kind of like it's beyond thick skin. It's like it's burning something in you so that something else can grow. So yeah, I'm excited. Um I
Mm.
suppose I'll begin with the story. How's that sound?
Yeah, yeah. Go for it, man.
Good. Go for it. Yeah.
All right, cool. This is like the only paranormal story I have to tell anyone on Earth, so it's something. I was in this city called Cappadocia in Turkey, and it's considered like the city of Jinn, which are like not demons or ghosts, but like another worldly thing. Anyways, I was there, and I had this hotel room at like the end of the hall, and like literally like the light flickered like outside the door, like before came in. And so I went in, and there was like two twin beds, and I specifically remember that I put all like my stuff was like scattered everywhere, and I put my backpack on one of the beds next to me. And I specifically remember this because before I went to sleep, that was the last thing I was looking at, that backpack on the other bed next to me. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and all of my things are organized and cleaned up, including the backpack. And they're all seated promptly in a chair in front of me. And like
Hmm.
that bed is like empty. And I just kind of looked around. I was like, yeah, that was probably a gin. And then I went back to sleep. So that's
What's a
my paranormal story. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not sure how. I'm not basically in the Muslim tradition. We believe there's like angels and jinns. Jinns aren't like demons or ghosts, but they're like another creation made out of like a smokeless flame. And so like we can't see them, but they can see us. And like some of them are good and some of them are bad. And so, like in the Muslim tradition, like when you hear about like spirits or ghosts, whatever, that's basically what's being referred to. Like Genie from Aladdin, he's a jinn, like that sort of a thing.
but
Mm.
like anything can
Mm.
be a gin?
Uh,
Like can gins
well,
be good and bad or they're just like bad?
they can be good and bad. Like it just depends on like the jinn. They could also like take the form of like an animal, like a dog or a snake or
Oh,
something. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's
So
my yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, even though they're like smoky figures, they can like still like interact like with us physically.
Well, they're not smoky. They're made out of like a smokeless flame. So we
Uh-huh.
can't see them, but they can see us. So like it said like you shouldn't go out to seek them and they
Hmm.
shouldn't go out to seek you. But like of course like some people and some jinns like break that boundary type thing.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
in like Muslim, like you were speaking like Muslim like culture and stuff or like religion. It's like, do you guys have a concept of like afterlife or is it just kind of like angel and or you become a jinn? Like if you die and you're bad, do you become a jinn?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. No, if you die, you don't become a jinn. Because like humans, right? Like the children of Adam, we're like specifically a different creation. So it's like we
No.
don't believe that when you die you become a jinn or an angel. It's like your soul just kind of like goes into a limbo before you're judged into heaven or hell type thing.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
That
like,
is
what
pretty
are they
creepy.
exactly? Do you
So
know? Do you know like what are they exactly? I'm like really
um
curious on that. Hmm.
yeah, so as far as we know, like uh They're made out of a smokeless flame. We believe the devil is one of them, and that
Oof.
yeah, before like Earth was full of humans, right? Before like Adam and whatnot, we believe that the world was full of jinns, and that they would like make wars with each other. Like they lived on Earth like humans, right? Or like beyond humans, their own empires, their own relationships, their own interactions. But because the violence and bloodshed had gone so far, um, God sent the angels to, you know, make peace, and then humans came to Earth. And that's just like the gist of it. I mean, there's more details, but that's essentially the tale.
Can they hurt you?
Mm-hmm.
They can, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's yeah.
Oh yeah, lucky for you, I guess. That you had like an experience of a good gin.
You know, I suppose I did. Yeah, and
Hmm.
I'm glad to hear that. But I'm
But
very
like,
yes, yes. Go ahead.
oh no no no. You finish first. Yeah.
No. I was gonna take it off to another tangent, so I'm curious what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say like I'm like a pretty, I guess like realist person. So like, what like did you at all like think like maybe like someone could have came in like maybe like a
Yeah,
housekeeper of
you know
sort
what
to
you're
like do that for you?
You know, it's
Did
so
that like cross
funny.
your
It's
mind?
so funny.
Hmm.
Like people, like my family members have asked me that, and I'm like, I don't think so. I
Hmm.
really don't think so. Like the way it was all just done. Who comes
Yeah.
into your
Hmm.
room to do all that? Wasn't my aunt, wasn't my grandma who came with me. It wasn't them. It wasn't room service. I just I'm not like taking that possibility out of the window. I'm just saying that I don't think so. It's
Yeah,
too
no,
much of a coincidence.
yeah, like it does like really seem like unlikely that like room service would come in at that time and stuff like that, you know? So that
Yeah,
is pretty cool. Hmm.
I suppose so. Yeah. But I'm very excited, very interested in getting into the Chinese ghost stories. Because I remember
Mm.
the last time we were discussing them, they were really just taking me to other places when I was thinking about them. So, Nicole, do you want to segue us into those?
For sure. I mean, let's get into it. The spring break, spooky festivities. Oh
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I had like I had like a lot of I feel like paranormal like activity stuff happen to me. Like for instance, I think the last time we talked, we were talking about like like sleep paralysis, right? We are like speaking about
Yeah.
that. And then I mean, I've gotten it pretty often. I don't know, maybe it's a genetic thing that, it's just hasn't been really like researched or anything like that, but I know for like my sister and my sister, when she was like little, she would get like sleep paralysis a lot, and she would like tell me these like scary stories. Like she would like see like a girl in her room or whatever. And then I never got it when I was little, but then recently, I don't know if it's just like maybe like stress related from like college coursework or what, but I started getting sleep paralysis in college, and then that's when I started like seeing like some really crazy stuff. Like for instance, like one time when I had sleep paralysis, I remember waking up because I heard like laughing, like like clear as day, like just hearing people laughing, and it was like not creepy or anything. It was just like as if somebody was in the room next to me, and then I just remember being like, you can't move like that much. I like could barely just open my eyes, and I remember when I opened my eyes, like right next to me was like a figure, like just like a dark shadow of like a person. Yeah, and it was like just staring like right at me. And I just remember it like feeling and hearing like the bed pressed down like next to me as
Mm.
if like somebody were like pushing me into the bed. And then the like what is it called? Headboard of the bed was like hitting the wall like back and forth. And then yeah, I just remember it like being like feeling like I was like pushed down. And then I just remember like I couldn't even do anything. Like I just sat and I prayed. And then like finally you get like you kind of gain like conscious back. And I just like ran out the room. I went to go see with my grandma because I was like super freaked out. But then at first it's like, oh, you think like you hallucinate things, and I'm sure part of it is because your brain's like in that like fogginess or whatnot. But I remember like my brother, because our rooms are like super close to each other, and then my brother asked me like, "Oh, like I heard like the headboard like banging or something like last night," so I knew it was like real, like it had happened. And then
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, like I told my grandma about it, and then my grandma was telling me because she's super super like stitious, and she was saying like I think it's just all across. Like, I don't even think it's like Chinese culture, but like Asian culture. I like probably. I think it's in Western culture as well. They speak like, talk about how like a ghost just like sitting on you, or like a demon like sitting on you when you like you get sleep paralysis. And that's like how people kind of like rationalized it back in the day. But coming from somebody that just like I don't know, I'm kind of like not here nor there about like ghosts in general. Like back then, I was like it could happen or it couldn't happen. It's like whatever. But that was definitely like solidifying, like, okay, there's something out there that we just don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
no, that.
Persian tradition, that exists as well, like a demon sitting on you as you
It's, isn't that
sleep.
kind of crazy though? How like there's all around, like all cultures have that. Like it's just a phenomenon that, everybody experiences, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I I remember we discussed sleep paralysis and we're talking about how like there's a moment where you're aware that you can't move and that things aren't
Mm-hmm.
working and you kind of like on a different plane of reality and you can't quite see everything going on but you can kind of sense like
Mm-hmm.
a figure
Uh,
here a figure there. It's just an interesting phenomenon.
I wonder if it's just something like your brain waves just like tap into because you're just like not coherent with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like every time I have like sleep paralysis, I do like something like once I realize I'm in like sleep paralysis, I like close my eyes like really really hard, and that
Mm,
usually like wakes me up. That like forces me awake.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but that's how like I break out of that. But like, how about you guys?
I just
Like,
pray, honestly.
you just pray.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
just
way to
pray.
go. It's like, God, give me another day. I'll make it better. And then
I
you
mean, I
just
just
wake up.
think like if I'm about to die, I might as well just pray and hope that I get to heaven if I die in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what if you
And
get so scared your heart just like stops?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you
No,
get out of
it's
that
terrifying.
sleep paralysis, it's really like a miracle, eh? It's like, wow. It's like that moment where you're like a little more grateful for life. Like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
I can breathe. I can see, I can move. It's cool.
Yeah, I get like cold sweats when I like break out of it too. I'm just like, damn, what happened?
Yeah. I
Mm.
remember we were also discussing a story that you had, Nicole, about a haunting. Do you want to share that story?
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's get into it. So basically, um, back in the day, like my grandma before my other grandma on my mom's side, before she passed, she used to live down the street from me. And they had like this brand new, like big house, and it was brand new. Like no one had lived there. There was no like previous owners before them. And then my uncle, she lived with my uncle, and he had like a his fiance at the time. She was from Thailand, and then she would always like say that not like a witch, but she was kind of more in tune with those kind of things. Like she would speak about like ghosts and all that stuff. Like she was really into it. And it was crazy because we thought she was like we would kind of joke that she was a witch because she was like like late 50s, almost 60s, and she looked no older than like 30, like seriously. And that might just be like genetics or whatever. But she would always say like, oh, like her like ghost children keep her young. And she would say like ghost children. And then basically what like it would mean that she would like explain it was like she would go back to Thailand, right? And then whenever they have like abortions and stuff, they like she would go to like the hospital, and then she would like collect the like bones of the kids, and then you take it to like temple, and then they'll grind up the bones, and then they compress it into like an amulet, almost like a, yeah, I guess that's the best way I can explain it, like amulet. And then they wear it like around their neck. It's actually a pretty common thing. Like monks do it, not like for babies, but just like, maybe they're like ancestor or whatever. It's common practice. And then she would like collect these, or say that she like collect these like kids and like these children's soul, and then they would like do her like bidding or whatever. And then she would say like, oh, like I raised them, like they're her kids spiritually. And so, and at her house she would have like toys like set up, like she didn't have any kids, but she would have children's toys everywhere, and she had like swing set in her house as well for like the kids. And so basically at my uncle's house, they had gotten to like a messy breakup or whatever, and she was like, I curse you, I curse his house, I curse like your whole family, just like all this like crazy stuff. And she was like talking in tongues and whatever, just like being crazy. And then so like nobody really like thought anything of it. And then like, a couple like weeks go by, and then like all these weird things start happening. Like um my grandma, she would wake up with like scratches on her back, and she would just like not know where it's from, because it's just like, what the heck, like scratches. And then my uncle would wake up with these like huge like gashes in his back, and then he was getting like sleep paralysis as well. And then like it was like a brand new house, and he fell like straight through like the second floor, which was like crazy because they were like, it was just like a brand new house, super unexplainable, like weird stuff like that would happen. And then like the picture frames on the walls would like shake and like bang against the walls and whatnot. And then I remember I would go and visit my grandma, and then me and her, like her and I were just like sitting in the kitchen eating, and she would like make me food or whatever. And then um she was not like getting like creeped out too, she would like hear stuff at night and whatnot. And so I would like stay with her and sleep over. And then I remember we were eating, and then she had like these heavy bar stools. Like even I was probably like 12 at the time. Like even me being 12, it's like hard to move. Like they're pretty heavy bar stools. And I remember being in the kitchen, and then like I can't even make this up. Like the chair stood up, like levitated on one leg, and like banged on the ground. And then I just remember like sitting there, and I looked at my grandma, and she saw it, and then we both just like ran out of the kitchen and like started crying. We had to like call my uncle, and we're like, we don't know what's like happening. And that was like my first like really creepy experience at like that house. But then afterwards, he was Christian, but for some reason, like we had like a monk come over, and then the monk was like, okay, yeah, there's like spirits here, and then what y'all need to do is like say the prayer, and then open this like what is it that you put a urn, and then they did like all the cleansing and whatnot and the chants, and then they're like, and you gotta like seal it in the urn, and then like go release it somewhere else. And then that's what they did. And then but they sold the house, moved out because it was just like too much bad energy, and my like family just superstitious, so yeah, they just sold the house.
Damn.
No, that's the right call. I would have left in a heartbeat, honestly. That's the terrifying.
No, and it's crazy because every family that moved into that house afterwards never stayed more than like 2 years.
Damn. That's like a Netflix show, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
So they didn't like fully like seal the spirits away. There's like
No, they
it's
like
still like
said that they did, but I think by then it was just like too creepy and like weird. And it was
Mhm.
um like it would just freak my grandma out because in the middle of the night the TV would turn on, but it wouldn't go to her show because they had cable, and then it wouldn't go to turn on a show. It would turn on like literally the poltergeist, the white static. and
Hmm.
it would just freak her out, and she would just she just felt weird about it and bad energy, so they ended up moving.
Hmm.
Interesting. I wonder, has your grandma or that family experienced anything paranormal since?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think my whole family probably just has like paranormal experiences, and we talk about like our experiences with each other, and everybody has like their own ghost stories, which is like pretty crazy and like weird. So I think there's definitely something out there that we can't see with our own eyes, but there's definitely things out there that's unexplainable.
Why do you
Hmm.
why do you think that is?
mm, well, I guess if we're to just bring like biochem into it, like what's like the first law we learn, like energy is not created in order to like destroy. So I guess when we die, it has our souls, our energy, it has to go somewhere. And maybe not everybody, goes to heaven or hell, or I guess everybody experiences the afterlife differently. And maybe that's why, you know, we see these
Hmm.
things.
Yeah, like I know, I forget where I heard it, but like I know people. This is like a thing people like to do to like explain like the unexpected things. Like if something is unknown that we experience, we usually like to like come up with an answer to like understand why. And like paranormal stuff usually like tend to fit that category for them, and it makes them like feel better about knowing the unknown in that regards. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I like how you brought that perspective into it because there's definitely some truth to that. I remember my English teacher, she once was discussing fear, and she shared how if a door opens a little bit in the dark and you don't know why that happened, you start getting scared because you don't
Hmm.
know why that door opened a little bit. But it could just be like, the wind or something. Or it could just be your cat trying to get in, something like that. So I definitely see the importance of that perspective. But by that same token, I was talking to one of my friends about the paranormal, and I was telling him, man, I don't think people just go into the woods looking for Odin because they're crazy. I think that there's really something out there that draws them in, that attracts them. So, what I mean by that is, I feel like the other perspective also holds some weight, that there is
Hmm.
something strange out there that we can't quite put our fingers on.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
no, for
think that
Talking
sure though.
about, yeah,
You guys
you
go
know,
I was
first.
the,
gonna say, like, I think another reason why a lot of people rationalize like paranormal experience or just the afterlife in general is because, like, when you love somebody and whether it's like your mom, dad, family, friend, whatever, and they pass away, a lot of people, I know, like myself included, you can't really like bear the idea of like never seeing that person again or like just losing that connection in general, right? Like when someone passes away. So I think that when people like speak upon like, oh, like the afterlife, like we'll see each other again. Like I think there's, like you have to have some kind of faith in that okay, we'll be reunited once more. I think that's like a reason why a lot of people, like something happens, like even people see butterflies or whatever, and it just reminds them of, their mom or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be like this creepy like thing, it's just like rationalizing the afterlife in general.
Hmm.
yeah, that's an interesting perspective there. Seeing
Yeah,
the brighter side of it, eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any stories of like that those like instances? Because like we only been like talking about like bad or scary ghosts, but like I've heard like some people are like, oh, I sometimes I hear like my mom's voice like telling
Mm.
me like it's okay or something like that, or like giving them advice, you know, which is like more on, I guess, on the wholesome good side of ghosts. Do
Yeah,
you
for
have any?
sure. Like I remember my grandpa when he passed away. He passed away on my birthday. So yeah.
Mm.
Um just like a weird like coincidence, and I think in that regard we've just always been like connected in that like way. But I remember when I was like a kid when he passed, like vividly remember having conversations with him and seeing him as if like he never even passed away. I remember just like going to my room and like speaking with him and being calm. I was a kid, obviously. You don't like think of like, oh, this is a ghost, I'm scared. Like you're just thinking like, okay, this is like grandpa and he's here and we're just gonna tell you like I remember it seeing him. It's like buried in my memory. And it wasn't anything, scary or nothing like that. It was just like I don't know, maybe when you're a kid, you kind of maybe that's just like, you cope with things differently, or maybe that's like for like the skeptics out there, that's like what maybe they want to rationalize it as. But I remember, having those conversations with him for sure.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That
because I know
that
like,
go ahead,
mhm.
Dan.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say like I know like how like in like some Asian cultures like when like a family passed like they still like br bring out like the dishes at the dinner table for them and or like leave that chair empty for that person. They're like, oh, they're still here, in a sense. That's like their spot usually where they sit at.
Yeah, my grandma was
So,
like that.
mhm.
She was like, oh, you can't sleep in the bed because that's where like your grandpa sleeps. Like they
Hmm.
have like that mentality still.
Mhm.
Interesting. That all this is making me think about dreams. And Carl Jung, the psychiatrist that had a lot to say about dreams. Dreams are something that I don't think anyone can ever fully explain, but I'm just curious to hear your 2 cents. What do you make of dreams?
Mm. Yeah. They've always like been interesting to me because like I know in like psychology they try to like explain like certain dreams like I'm not sure if you guys ever had this like where if like your teeth feels like really loose or like if they're about to like fall out like they said like if you have that dream that means like you regret saying something or you like regret that you like told a lie or something like that, you
Interesting.
know.
I've
Yeah,
never
or
heard of
like
that, but it's fascinating.
or like what's it called. There was one that my girlfriend told me recently about like you feel like you're falling into a hole. It's like I think you're under like a lot of pressure or something like that that you can't like escape.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Speaking of
I
teeth, the dentist I used to work for, he would say like, "Oh, a lot of people have these dreams of their teeth falling out," and he would kind of say like, "Oh, if you have a dream about your teeth falling out, it means that you're super conscious about your physical appearance, like how you look, how you appear to other people. You're like insecure about it."
Mm. Wow.
interesting. In your dreams, do you guys feel insecure? Or is that a thought
Um,
that's ever even crossed your mind?
no.
I
Yeah.
don't even remember half my dreams to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I agree with that. There's so many dreams that just get forgotten.
Yeah.
But
No,
speaking of
like
insecurities, yeah.
oh, I was gonna say like when I dream, it's really more like I'm just like floating by, and like my dreams don't make any sense. Like I can be in my room and like when I open my door to like in my room, I'm just at school all of a sudden. But like I never think it's like, oh, this is weird. This shouldn't have happened. I just like go by. I just like float.
Mm. It's like a
Hmm.
second reality to you type thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Interesting.
lucid dreamt?
Explain that.
It's from like my understanding, lucid dreaming is kind of when you can take control of what's going on in your dreams and manipulate it into what you want it to be.
Hmm.
Mm.
No, never. I know like some people say they can and they're able to do it, but no, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's more like if I wake up like, oh, it's time to wake up, but I still want to stay in bed and sleep a little bit, then I start playing around with my dreams. But other than that, it's not the same thing. It's not what's coming at me naturally. What about
for
you?
sure. I don't know, because like if I have dreams about like a K-pop like band or like this like actor I like or whatever, I feel like I could control it. Like one time I had this dream that I was this there's this K-pop group that I like in Hyphen, and I had a dream that I was their makeup artist, and I felt like I was in control of that dream.
Oh,
Mm,
that's interesting.
I was like, what the heck?
No, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, no, no,
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah.
Did you do anything like different? Like how did you like do it? Do you know?
I think
Or you like just
you know if you want to dream certain things and you're like aware. Oh, I know a trick. So I learned this trick from this video I watched, and to know that because a lot of people can't lucid dream because they don't know that they're dreaming, and then so they just mistake it as reality. But if you don't know if you're dreaming, if you count your fingers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that means that like you're awake, you're conscious. But if you count your fingers and you're missing a finger or your fingers are like distorted, then you're dreaming.
Hmm,
Mm.
damn, I
Yeah,
gotta try that out. Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
It's just making me think of like Shark Boy and Lava Girl,
Oh,
Dream. You know, you gotta like control your dreams. You guys know what I'm talking about? That film, Disney Channel
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is the first group episode, so it's
Hmm.
being tiptoed around, eh?
Hmm. But man, yeah, that's so interesting though. Like, do you think dreams like have a deeper meaning outside of just like you just like re-experiencing or like finding more, learning more
I think
about
they
yourself?
can. I think they can.
Hmm.
I think they can symbolize things, but I don't think they have to necessarily.
yeah, for sure. I think it's
Yeah,
just like a brain dump. Like whatever your brain is like just collecting throughout the day or week, you just dream it and let it go, you know?
yeah.
Hmm.
I wanted to get back to the paranormal, and something that I've been meaning to bring up is the doors. How Nicole, you were
Oh, I
discussing
knew you were
about
gonna
the
say that.
doors. Yeah, do
Oh.
you want to explain that about the doors in Chinese culture?
So yeah. So basically like I know that it's in Japanese culture as well. I'm not sure about all Asian like countries, but I know in Chinese and Japanese it's like if you people say like spirits travel is like their strongest form is like in door frames. Like um like people say like if there's a crack open in your door, there's like eyes staring back at you, like staring at you through the like crack. Like ghosts can like stare at you through that crack.
So in the Chinese cultures, even Japanese, is it a good thing or a bad thing to keep your doors cracked open?
Probably bad. Like, you don't want something
Keep it
staring at
fully
you.
closed or fully open, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I know me now. I have to shut the doors like all the time. I don't know. Maybe that's
Interesting.
just a tall tale they tell you to, so you don't let the air conditioning go out. But I think it's
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. Another thing that I've been meaning to discuss is you talked about some guy here in Houston who raises his little ghost children. What is
yeah.
that about?
So there's a fortune teller
Oh.
in Houston. The name like doesn't ring a bell, but he's pretty infamous. He's just this like old, I believe he's Vietnamese, and people go. He's open and he doesn't charge anything, and he's open from I believe like 3 to 5 a.m., which is like the spirit hour, whatever. And people come and he doesn't ask them for money or anything, but they bring him toys and donations for like the spirit. So
Mhm.
like if you go visit him, like he won't ask for anything, but yeah, it's just weird. Like the way like my friends have gone before, the way they described it is like the way he works is like the spirit children will tell him like everything about that person's like life, like their secrets or whatever. And then that's how he kind of is able to like tell your fortune.
Interesting.
Hmm.
That is very
Did your
fascinating.
friends have like their fortune read? Did they tell you about it? I'm really
Yeah, yeah,
interested.
yeah, they did. I actually wanted to go, but I got kind of like creeped out because, like Christians, you're not supposed to like seek like mediums and stuff like that. So it's kind of against my religion to do that. It freaked me out. But they went, and I mean, they said that they had like a good experience. And although it was creepy for them, that he didn't really tell them anything like it's kind of generic, like a little bit, they said. Like
Interesting.
it kind of
Hmm.
stuff
So,
all young girls would like go through, like, oh, you're bad at spending money. Oh, this guy's not good for you. Like, you can kind of like say that about anybody, really.
so it's like a cold read, you think?
Yeah. I don't doubt like, maybe he's like legit. Like I really don't know, but I don't doubt that he has like abilities or whatever, but I just think like from what they told me it's like, oh, anybody could have went and got that reading.
Mhm. Uh,
Guys, it's gonna be the same link, okay? This one's ending, it's gonna be the same link though.
okay,
Okay, so I'll
okay,
see you there.
all right.
Wait, is
Ooh, is Nicole there?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, hey, hey. Yeah, yeah. But I was gonna say, I just remembered something, right? That like you mentioned before, Nicole, that like
Hmm?
just like ruined me from then on. The one where you're talking about like if you go to sleep, there's like a superstition about like if there's like a mirror in your room as you go to sleep, like it's bad.
Oh
Or like
yeah.
same with like your monitor. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
ever
yeah.
since I remembered that, I like use my chair to block my monitor,
Oh yeah.
like
So
when I
like
sleep.
yeah, so there's kind of like a superstition in like Asian households and I think Hispanic households as well. Because when I went to sleep over at my friend's house, she did the same thing. And basically it's kind of like if you have anything reflective, like resembles a mirror that you sleep in front of, like if you're sleeping here, like I'm sleeping here and then directly in front of me is like a mirror, it's like super bad for your like energy essentially because people say that like spirits and energy like travels through mirrors and stuff like that. So then like if you were to like wake up in the middle of the night and you like see yourself, like it will like be bad for your own energy.
Hmm.
So that's just like a feng shui like thing.
Hmm.
Interesting.
People say
Yeah.
is too like you have like and you don't put something in it before you go to sleep, like a ghost. I think this is like my Thai best friend. She told me that if you go to sleep and you don't put something in your like desk chair or like just something there, like a ghost will like sit there.
In your desk
Hmm.
chair, really?
It's just like anything, like a couch or whatever in your room.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I
That's
put a
so funny.
squishmallow in my chair when I'm about to go to
Hmm.
One of the things I wanted to mention when you were talking about that fortune teller, and his little ghost children. In the Muslim tradition, there's an idea that you shouldn't visit fortune tellers because what they're doing is they're communicating with their little genie, like a jinn.
bed.
And
Mm-mm.
what happens is the jinn that they're communicating with, he flies up to like the court of angels, right? And he's like listening, or they're listening to like whatever the angels are talking about your fortune or whatever. And so like they come back and tell him. And so we believe that when you see a shooting star, it's because that demon, or sorry, that jinn that was communicating with the medium, they're getting like punished for that because you're not supposed to do that. That's just like an interesting perspective in the Muslim tradition.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah. How do
wow.
y'all feel about like communication with those who have crossed over? Do you think it's wrong or right?
Mm.
Or do you think it even exists?
I'd say like to me that sounds like along the line of like prayers, like sometimes like
Mm-hmm.
you can like pray to like your deceased family, just being like, oh, I'm doing well, stuff like that. I think it's like fine.
Like
At least in that
Coco, Pixar's Coco.
I have not watched
Yeah.
Coco.
No, you never seen it?
I
It's a
watched
great
Uh,
it.
film.
I
Great
watched it.
film.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
For me, I don't like believe that when someone dies, you can communicate with them. I just think like, oh, that's
Mm,
kind of it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, kind of like that thing where you go to like a medium. I feel like that's dangerous for a person. I
For
don't think
sure.
that's because
mm,
even if you like, I think I've discussed it with you guys before, like energy, right? Some people, you come into their vicinity, they give like great energy, and you feel like, oh, this person's amazing. And there's other people, you come into their vicinity and it's like terrible energy. Oh my
Yeah.
God, like stay away from me. So I feel like it's
Yeah.
something along those lines, something parallel to that, where
mm,
if you kind of pursue that, it's bad energy for you. It's not something positive, I don't think.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. I think you can definitely pray to people who have passed on, like, oh, watch over me or whatever. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well, kind of thing. Like, I'll see you again, kind of thing. But I think if you're like actively looking for somebody else to like communicate, I don't know. My belief is like what's done is done, right? When someone passes, what is said has been said, and they'll leave with whatever, if your like heart's intent was like kind or whatever, they'll always like you always love each other. But obviously if there's like anger, you're gonna like leave with that anger, right? And then but I don't think that if you're they're like you have to like search, they have to open this like plane and you just don't know what you're gonna receive, like it could be something
Yeah.
like um saying like, oh yeah, I'm this person's relative, whatever, or like and then they come back and it, you don't even know who you're really speaking with because you've entered and you've asked somebody to walk into this like limbo that you yourself know nothing about.
Yeah. And I feel like all traditions around the world explore that idea that you just said, that you don't know actually what you're interacting with. It could be a lie, you know?
Yeah.
The man, Quan Ko, is that how you say his name? The man, like your
Juan
last
Gong?
name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything superstitious about the life that he lived? Or are there any stories about him that are superstitious?
Not really superstitious, but it's more so just like his beliefs, like um everybody like he always kind of spoke about like everybody has like a warrior's heart. You should always fight for the good and protect those who can't protect themselves. And like as a man of like his household, like the men of his household should always like protect and not be like a wimp, basically. Like, always step up to the occasion, always fight for what you love, fight for the people you love. That's like more of his like values more than anything than like superstitious stuff.
I like how you mentioned wimp. Why is it not okay to
Yeah.
be a wimp? What do you guys think?
mm. Well, in my opinion, I think it's okay.
Hmm. Explain that. Why do you think it's okay to be a wimp?
Like everyone has
Because you're
like
just
their
not that
own,
guy.
yeah. No, I gotta fight the good fight here. I feel like everyone has like who they are, like I feel like in a sense it's almost like a toxic mindset or masculinity just to expect everyone to step up to the plate or like meet their things like it doesn't always just have to be the man that does it either.
Hmm, for sure. I
I
think
feel
that
like,
just
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the way like my dad is and like my brothers are as well, they're very masculine men. Like they're into, martial arts and fighting and providing for the family. Like it's just I think in terms of being like a wimp to answer your question, like Dan's right. Like you don't it's like it's not, confined to like man or woman. But I think just, you know, knowing your boundaries and if somebody crosses your boundaries or disrespects your boundaries, like you have to stick up for yourself. You're not gonna sit there and be like, oh, okay, yeah. But like if someone's picking on you, someone's hitting you, you're not gonna be like, don't hit
Hmm.
me. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I guess maybe wimp's not the word, but like weak. Like it's not okay to be weak, huh?
Yeah.
Because you kind of need some fortitude to live. You need some strength to go on.
Yeah, my
I
mom
suppose
always taught me
that's
you should never cry unless somebody passes away. Like you should never like let somebody see you cry unless, somebody that you love has passed.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of something that I can't remember which Stoic philosopher said it, but it was something like men get upset about like the things that happen in life because they take seriously what the gods have made for fun. I thought that was interesting. Some Greek philosopher said something like that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I think it's just up to the individual person. I think some people are naturally more like masculine and like lean into that, and then obviously more people are more feminine and play into that more. So I think it just depends on your household and how you were brought up, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is
Like
true.
all like I also see like this side like do you like for stoicism, like would you some people would consider that being like a wimp, like you taking like so much like shit or like beating, but
Mm.
you're not really like showing it, you're like this isn't
Mhm.
affecting me. Would you consider that like a wimp?
I really like that you mentioned that. That's so cool. That is so cool that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that. I think that's something to think about, definitely, because it kind of goes back to what Nicole's saying. Like you got to know your boundaries, you got to know your
Mm-hmm.
lines, and it's like if somebody does push you somewhere where you shouldn't be pushed, you got to be able to stand up for that. And I really like this because I do think some people they take on the guise of stoicism and get beat up all over. And it's like, well, you kind of got to know where to stand your ground. So that's a very cool thing you brought up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you just in general you have to have like a lot of dog in you. You know what I mean? You have to be
What does that
able
mean?
to like you have
The
to be able
dog.
to take that, like nothing in life that's good comes easy, right? So it's like you have to be able to take like, even let's say like corporate world, right? You start at the bottom and you have to take on everybody's like, you know, like the work that no one wants to do. And you have to work your way up. And it doesn't make you a wimp or weak. It's just like, I'm gonna have enough resilience and confidence in myself to like get it done. A wimp is like I don't know, like if somebody's just like straight up disrespecting you, like calling you a slur, and you're just like, okay. Well, then again, it's like if someone calls you a slur and it just like bothers you that bad too, and you're just like, I don't know, words are just words, but if someone's just like physically just like antagonizing you and you just like take it, I don't know, that's kind of weird.
Mm,
How do you stick to your ground? How do you hold on to who you are? Because something I've been thinking about a lot lately is we change ourselves sometimes based on the people that we meet and the interactions we have. We kind of swallow parts of ourselves. So how do you
hmm
guys hold on to who you are in spite of the external circumstances?
mm. That is definitely really hard because, we are very social creatures. Like, in class, in one of my classes, we were like talking about like why do people like care so much about like how they look, like their body weight, and stuff like that. And like what we like kind of like talked about was like we just all want to like fit in, like like models, they look like gorgeous and stuff. We see that as like popular. We want to be them, and that's like the ideal in like our minds, and
Hmm.
we just want to fit in and like be a part of that. So I feel like you going against the grain of like not fitting in is definitely like really hard. Um,
It's very hard.
that
It's very
yeah.
hard. It is what it is.
hmm
I
But
think just
like
having strong like support system, you know, being close with like your family and maybe like that household construct too, how you grow up and kind of, like who was I? Are you trying to, I think, spending time with your parents, if you guys have like a good relationship or just family in general, it kind of, you bring yourself back to like, who was I before I even met, this friend or that friend, like who was I essentially, like who raised me? That's always like a good way to, you know, be
Mhm.
yourself, I guess.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I definitely feel like it's hard to like ground yourself uh if you don't have the right people there to do it, like to help you. Because I feel like if you're on your own, you will just go with the flow, you will do whatever to fit in.
That
Yeah. And
is
just
very
having
true.
friends too, people always say like, show me who your friends are and I'll show you your future kind of thing. I think if you're surrounding yourself with people, who are successful, who are kind, they're doing good things, you're naturally going to gravitate towards doing those things as well.
Yeah, I I heard Brad Pitt talking about that question, right? What's more important, the destination or the journey? And he says neither. What's most important is the company that you surround yourself with. And that hit me very hard. It's very true. You see many folks come and go. And yeah, that's just something so fascinating to me. The people that you surround yourself with. And I find myself being most drawn to the people that remind me of who I am. I just like am just like I just gravitate towards them. I want to sit next to them and just talk to them. It's like, wow, I really feel like myself when I'm in your presence, in your vicinity. Do you guys feel that as well?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Like I always consider it like a vibe, like there's some people where I just like don't really click, I'm more reserved, and there's some other people where I can like talk all day with.
Yeah. I think just how you feel, even after hanging out with that person, like, oh, do I have anxiety? Do I have to be up to their standards or do I have to do this to fit in with them? I think you in your heart, you get that gut feeling about people. So, yeah.
Yeah. Taking this back to the paranormal, do you guys think this is connected to it in any way?
Like
Like,
your friends?
Like social interactions. Because one thing I was thinking about, I was talking to a pastor, and we were discussing like the story of Cain, the son of Adam, and how he killed his brother. And I was
Yeah.
telling him, I'm like, dude, people might say Cain did what he did because of greed or jealousy or lust. But I think that the reason people like sin or are drawn to darkness is because deep down they're just really sad or angry or frustrated. And the way we were talking about interactions and why we interact with certain people or why we swallow certain parts of ourselves, I feel like if you take it too far to an edge sometimes, it'll just make you feel all the more worse. So maybe in that sense, it could be tied back to the paranormal.
hmm,
Or what do you guys think?
yeah, hmm,
I mean, the way that I've learned about sin in Christianity, right? It's like we're all born with sin. We all have that inherent, you know, we all have these like inherent needs and desires, right? Like they talk about gluttony. Like no one wants to go outside and, work out hours on end or whatever. Like obviously if you want to most people just want to stay at home and be lazy or whatever. Or like even like a kid, right? It's like when you see a kid and then they're just like stealing cookies out of a cookie jar and then they know that like they're not supposed to do it, but they do it anyways. It's like no one teaches them to go and steal the cookie. They just do it because they're a kid. They don't know any better, and then the way that like people like I've heard it explained to me is like Christianity is like right. It's like okay, if you're driving a car and there's no brake, you're just gonna crash, you know? But when you have like the gospel, it's like that breaking like point for you. Or like that's when you like learn these like, okay, I shouldn't be lazy. I shouldn't eat this too much like too much of this or do that. It's because like you have these like fundamental beliefs that's like your breaking point. So I don't know
Mhm.
how that like really ties into like paranormal stuff, but that's just how like they kind of explain like sin.
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick. It's interesting you mentioned that. In the Muslim tradition, we don't believe that humans are like inherently born with sin. I just think that's like an interesting like
Yeah, it's like a
yeah, it's cool. But Dan, you were gonna say something?
Mm-mm. I was just like thinking, like yeah, about how all this is. Like, I don't remember. Like, there was like definitely that. Um, there was like two philosophers that like went against each other about like, do you think people are born good or born bad? And like from hearing what you said, like in the Muslim culture, it's neither. They're born neither good or bad. So
Well,
I
actually,
was just
here's the
like
interesting
processing that.
thing. They are
Oh,
born inherently good, but it's like
oh,
how you grow up and what you choose to do can make you keep you good or bad type thing. It's just that you're
mm-hmm.
not born with sin. That's the only part that's different there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I brought all this together to see if it may be somehow tied back to the paranormal. I love tying things back, but sometimes it's just,
Hmm.
you know, the conversation goes where it goes.
do you think like
Hmm.
sinners become or like people who do all these bad things in their, you know, like waking life that they become maybe like demons or ghosts? Like is there any kind of ideal or construct behind that in like your religion?
No, there isn't. It's just kind of like basically everybody when they die, they kind of go to a limbo place
Mm.
and um after that, like when it's, you know, judgment day, then you're kind of like, okay, you're going to heaven, you're going to hell. But like humans are humans. They don't turn into angels or jinns. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
there's
Is
just like
there
a limited amount of jinns, right?
um well how would you I, I don't know. It's kind of like humans. Like they have their own families. They have like their own world. Like some of them are Muslim, some of them aren't. Some of them are Christian, some of them are like Buddhist. Like it's like its own world. So like I don't know. Just like there's no limit to humans, there's no limit to them either, type thing. And there's different kinds too, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, you've brought that up a couple times now, Nicole. Is there something in the Chinese tradition where like if somebody did something evil in their waking life, they turn into a demon?
Yeah, so like I don't even think it's just like Chinese culture, but I think like Christianity is like a demon is like, you know, like the I don't even want to say it at night because I get creeped out. But like say like his like soldiers, they like if you commit like evil stuff, you're like banished to hell, right? And then like you will become like a demon. And then that's kind of like how they're like made, I guess. So I was like asking like, oh, is that like what happens to in other religions? But I guess not.
Mm, interesting. I was not aware of that. That's a fascinating perspective.
Yeah. What would you do, or would you be scared, like in the face of like a jinn or like a demon?
Yeah,
I would
probably.
be
You're like,
terrified.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not from like in the Muslim tradition, what is said is they are actually fearsome looking. Like even if
Okay.
it's a good one, they're like fearsome looking. And I
Mm.
think there's like a narration, I believe, of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, if I'm not mistaken, where the head of jinns look like the shape of a fruit from a tree in hell. So it's kind of like it's a fearsome looking thing. That's what it is.
That's like
Mhm.
funny you say that because like Christianity, like like the devil, he's like made out to be like the most like beautiful like human you've ever not human but like most beautiful like thing you've ever seen, and then it's like
Huh.
the angels that are like super fearsome looking, and
Wow.
they're just like really scary looking because they're made to like scare off like the evil stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
always heard like that, like biblically accurate,
biblical
like
accurate. Yeah, yeah,
angel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. I was not aware of that.
Mhm.
He
yeah.
looks, huh.
I think even in like a lot of things that are portrayed in like the media that is like good or cool or whatever, like a lot of that is like could be like considered like evil, like if you see certain things on social media and it's just maybe like a standard you can't even like live up to, or it makes you feel like you can't live up to, like that could be like one way I guess the devil like shows himself, because it's like you're looking at something super beautiful, but in reality it's like killing your mind.
Yeah. I do like how you mentioned that. There's this thing in the Muslim tradition where like the devil doesn't come to you and like tell you to do like all these crazy things. Kind of like it's like a step by step. You get like sweetly tempted into it.
Yeah.
But what you mentioned was making me think about something I had said in the very beginning about how fear can really transform a person. And sometimes, like, if you get a good scaring, like, it just puts you on the next level. Have you guys ever had those experiences where you're like, I watched that horror film and I feel braver for it?
Oh. Hmm. Yeah, I don't really go out my way to like seek horror. I'm not that type of person, but I do see where you're coming from. I don't know, like when I see something scary, I don't feel braver from it. Um, it's more like a lingering thought that like follows me
Yeah.
like
Mm,
through life. Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like when I go to haunted houses and stuff with my friends, like I'm kind of the brave one. Like I'll go in first, or like I'll be like the first person in there. And when I see these things, I don't really get scared. It just makes me laugh. It's like kind of funny because like that kind of stuff is like not real. Like somebody's going out of their way to scare you. Like that in
yeah.
itself is funny. But like
Hmm.
I think like maybe the things that freak me out more is like ghost things, like I don't know.
The
Like
more
story.
unknown.
Yeah, the more
Hmm.
unknown. But yeah, I
Mm,
feel brave at like haunted house, but I don't feel brave if I'm watching like a documentary, or like have you seen those like videos online where it's like a voice box and then they're trying to speak to like ghosts and then it will like answer,
Uh,
like that stuff scares me.
mm. The reason I brought that up was because there's something interesting Jordan Peterson talks about, a phenomenon in psychology where a lot of us, we tend to stay away from the things we're afraid of. We don't want to look in that direction, want to look away. We don't want to
Hmm.
be near it.
Dude, that was like me in the biochem exam. I was like, I'm not checking my grade.
you know, like that
And
leads me on to like something else actually, but like
yeah.
fear, like PTSD, right?
Mm.
Mm.
Like, why do you guys think it happens? I have an answer for this, but I want to hear like from you guys.
Yeah, but before I answer that, I just wanted to finish what I was saying, which
Okay.
was
Mhm.
that he was talking about when you stop staying away from that fear, when you actually turn around and look at it, the fear shrinks.
Hmm.
And I just think that's so interesting. And he was saying it's not like you get braver, which I thought was really cool. But go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, I mean, just going off of that, I think, that's like something just super like easier said than done. Like not
Absolutely.
everybody can just, that's just spirit itself. So I think But yeah, I believe that once you look something in the face and you're just like, you know what, this isn't even as big as I thought it was, then that's when you're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I don't know that I have too many thoughts on PTSD, but if you wanna bring us into that, Dan, go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I found it really interesting how like the reason why this is like what like someone told me, but like the reason why they keep like experiencing that like trauma or like fear is to keep themselves safe. That's why they like
Oh,
relive it. Yeah, it's like a
explain that.
protective measure. Yeah, yeah. So it's like, like say like war veterans, right? So like, like sometimes when they hear like a loud noise or like a clap, they associate it with like a gunshot and they get like the flashbacks or whatever. But like apparently it's like a mechanism like your brain to like keep yourself safe from like reliving that moment again, I guess. Or like to prevent yourself from like going that like deep in.
Mm.
I thought PTSD is like when they're like reliving that moment. Is that not right?
Yeah, like in a sense it is. Yeah, yeah. It's
So is
like
it like
like
because they survived and then that's how they're like trying to like
mhm.
protect themselves? Because it's like, oh, like I didn't die. This is how that situation happened, kind of thing. Like that's how they're like thinking about it.
Like them reliving it like I'm like butchering this like really hard, I think, but like I just know like them reliving it is like a mechanism of the brain to like protect themselves.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like
I
when
think
you brought up
that's
like that fear. Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you mentioned that because what it makes me think about is sometimes I desire that level of feeling. So for example, after an exam, because you'd be studying so much for an exam, and then you take it, and it's very hard to like hold on to that energy, that momentum of studying, studying, studying. And so sometimes I desire that energy to keep going because I feel
Mm,
like it'll just put me on another level. And I've desired that sometimes with fear as well because as I was saying, it makes me feel braver and braver. So that's a very interesting thing that you mentioned. Makes
Hmm.
them feel safe in some way. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. I think like during the break, like during you know how like college you take like a month break or the breaks are really extended, but when the course load is there, it's like super boom 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 fast. It's like super compressed. And then because I was like so in that mode of like studying, studying, studying when we were on like when we go to like winter break, whatever, I'm just like, oh, like there's nothing to do. And then you start feeling sad and like not depressed, but just like you're like, oh, I wish there was like more stuff to do.
Yeah.
Hmm. I that is like definitely a thing. Like it is definitely like nice to do like nothing for like a week or two, but
Yeah.
but it is like definitely a thing. Like people need, I guess, like a goal or like they need to
Yes,
feel like
yes.
some sort of progression in their life for it to have meaning, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
What do y'all think is the meaning of life? Let's just wrap it up like,
Hmm.
or do y'all are y'all kind of
Living.
like somebody that lives like goal to goal like that, or is there something like you're like working towards, or once I accomplish this and I'll be happy, or are you kind of like, okay, I just live in the moment?
Yeah, I definitely do have like a lot of like small goals that I like to like progress towards. Just to like I guess like feel like I'm achieving something, but I don't have like an overarching like goal. Like once I complete this, my life is like done. I can like die happy. No, I don't have anything like that. Um, but yeah, I'm
I
definitely more in the
have
present. Hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's pretty much it. I was gonna say like yeah, I definitely do just like to live in the moment. So,
Mm. I've definitely done that. Where it's like, wow, if I just do this one thing, my life will be complete and I can die happy. I've done it so many times. That goal to goal lifestyle, it's not fun. It seems fun, Like when you hit those markers, and at a certain point, you're like, oh my God, because once you've accomplished a goal, it's not as shiny or precious in your eyes anymore. Even though it could be a very beautiful and impressive thing, it's just not. And then you're kind of like wandering, and it can throw you into a state of not even wanting to do the next goal because of that experience that you've had with the string of goals behind you. So I've definitely been there before. It's not fun.
Yeah, because like the reason why I asked that question is because I was watching this like documentary and they were saying that they interviewed like a couple hundred people like as they were about to pass, like what advice they would give and stuff like that. And then, you would think that people would be like, oh, like invest in this or like I wish I made more money or people would like talking about their jobs, but every single one of them was like, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish that I never like lost friends that I made in college. Like it was all very much like, you know, connection based in terms of,
Hmm.
but like not like, oh, I wish I accomplished this. I wish I did that. It was just like, I wish I loved my wife more. I wish I, talked to my kids more, listened to my husband, stuff like that.
That's deep.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, human connection, it's vital. And I noticed that a lot because I remember that when I would drive to campus, I would always take pride in being a Cypresian, because I rarely
yeah.
meet the people from Cyprus. And everybody's, from Clear Lake or Katy or Sugarland or Pearland or something like that. And the thing is, though, that when I'd go back home, when I'd be driving in that darkness, I'd be like, oh my God, it's so alone out here. Like we're still pioneers. And the party's always in Sugarland. It's always in Clear Lake. It's always in Katy, you know? And so it's like that connection is very important.
Hmm.
It's more important than that badge of honor, that badge of pride of being a Cypresian or whatever else anybody holds on to with pride.
Hmm. That's just so interesting. Yeah, how you have that badge of honor. But yeah, I guess you realized it, right? For yourself.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Or even
Mm.
like people I talk to who graduated, they're like, oh, it's so hard to meet people not, like after like college, like it's so hard to like make friends or like going into the workforce not knowing anybody or even just like people who are looking for relationships. It's like hard on them. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Does that daunt you guys? Does that scare you?
Mm, like making new relations and connections.
Yeah, outside. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know because I feel like making connections is just like hard in general for me. Like it doesn't matter if I'm like
Really?
in school or not. Yeah.
Hmm.
We connected pretty easy, eh? I was like, hey, what's
I'm
up?
like the kind of person is like, oh, like if I don't like click the first time, I'm not gonna like make an effort to click another
Mm,
time.
first impressions, eh?
Right? Yeah, 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 yeah. Like like a good first impression, and it goes vice versa. Like obviously, I'm not gonna appeal to everybody or like nobody. Not everyone's gonna like you, the way you are, which is fine. But it's just like I don't know. I feel like just talking to people in class is like hard too. I don't know.
Hmm.
And that surprises me. I don't know if you feel that same way, Dan, but like both of you guys are pretty good at that. So it always surprises me when people make that confession. Like, oh, it's difficult for me. It's like, wow, I never would have guessed. You guys are so good at it?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely Nicole, where it's definitely hard for me. I like to just keep to myself type, and I really only interact with people like when I need to. So that usually just comes with like school or like doing like work on something together, you know?
But I think
Mm.
you will attract the people you need to like attract and the people who give out, the same energy you do. Because even the way me and Dan met, we met at tutoring, like that's and Omar, like that's how we all became friends, is because we were both decided at that time to go to tutoring and take the time to invest in that class and better ourselves and learn more. Like you will meet wise people that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could you elaborate more on that? That you will attract the people that you need to, because sometimes, and I can speak from personal experience. Sometimes it's you get kind of concerned, like, oh no, what if I don't attract the people I want to attract?
Hmm. I think if you just put your heart, like if your goal is to, attract people and make friends, I think you will change like your lifestyle and like where do I meet like high quality people? You're gonna make friends at school, like people in school, people at the gym, people who are like working the job you're working. Obviously, if you're going to like the clubs or bars, like that's the energy you're gonna attract, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say people who go to bars and clubs are bad, but it's just like, there's places that
Mm-hmm.
you want to meet certain people, like they will be there. Like, people will always be there. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, that is very true. And it's so beautiful because you can kind of like cry. So as I was saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful because you can cry about the people that have left and gone from your life, right? And you kind of wanted them to stay. But when you least expect it, you're kind of all the new people embrace you, and it's so beautiful, and you could just never see it coming. And that's something I've experienced recently. Where just I was clinging on to everything in my past for so long, like every little thing. And then when I finally let go, it was so beautiful. All the new things embraced me. So I think that if you trust the process, you do attract the people. And that's just like an ongoing journey.
For sure. I think like me personally, I've had a lot of old friends and relationships or mentors in the past that I thought would be in my life forever, but then it's just when you step back and you realize, whatever you believe in, God, the universe, like you won't always get like what you want, but what you need. So I think that once you can like accept, like, I don't know, the way I heard somebody speak about it before was like everybody that you meet, you make like a contract with them, like subliminally, like you're making that contract. And when that contract ends, it's like you owe me nothing, I owe you nothing, and we part ways. And that was it. And you were for this like extended period of time, whether it was short or long lived. It's once it's done, it's done. It's just like a contract.
Yeah, that's so cool you mentioned that because it makes me think about that idea where like you and me, right? It's like a piece of
Hmm.
me is with you and a piece of you is with me and
Hmm.
with Dan as well, and it's like we carry little pieces of everyone with us, even if
Hmm.
we part ways. Like I have put an impression on you guys. You guys have put an impression on me. It's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's just life in general. You culminate everything and everybody you've ever like learned and experienced, and you grow into this person. So I think that's just life. That's the beauty of having friends and experiencing other people's perspectives on life who've lived differently than you.
Yes. I wanted to just mention a Paulo Coelho quote that I heard that's related to all this. He says something along the lines of, when you're brave enough to say goodbye, you get rewarded with a new hello. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that, when something isn't serving you or you're not growing from a certain situation, life will, serve you in a way that's like in your favor. If you put it out there, good things will come back for sure.
Yeah, we can hope for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I that's so funny. I love that because it just kind of goes to show how not everything's so serious, It's just a conversation. It's like, oh yeah, let me
And
just
how
get
do
up
you
and get
feel
something.
like when is it appropriate to like save a relationship or say because we keep talking about like oh just if it's not serving you like just cut it off, it's just whatever, we part ways. But when do you think it's like okay to reach out or like say like let's save this, like let's save our friendship, let's save like our marriage, like when is it like when is enough enough?
Mm, I guess that would that'd be like dependent on like both people, right? But mm, that's a hard one because like there are like cases, where you like see where you're like, oh, maybe like these two people shouldn't be together. It's like really like toxic or
Hmm.
whatever. But maybe both people want that, like, or want to still be in a relationship type thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely really hard to tell when you want to like save or like let go.
I was watching Sleepless in Seattle the other day. It's actually a pretty good film. There's this line in there where this guy is talking about how when you're attracted to someone and they're attracted to you, what it is that your subconsciouses are attracted to each other. And I thought that was really cool. And the point that brings me to is there was this one day where I hated everything about it, or rather, I didn't like anything about it. But I talked to one person that day, just one person. I sat down next to them. I talked to them for maybe 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, I felt like myself. And so I think that when it comes to relationships and the people that you meet, it goes back to those people that really make you feel like yourself. And if those people really make you feel like yourself, I think that's something beautiful to save and preserve.
Mm,
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure.
mm, mm. What would you say like in that earlier example I said with like say like a toxic relationship where they might feel that, but like like how like some people are like, oh, you don't know like what's best for you type thing. But like, what if that person like truly thinks this is what they want, but it's not, I'd say like in the eyes of others, correct.
I think like in my experience, you know, with just like my past relationship, I can definitely like be like a testament to say like when you're like really in love with somebody, you have like goggles on, like you do the most like irrational stuff when you're in love because you're in love, you think like, oh, this person's like your everything, and whatnot. But I think like a wake up call for me was just like, bringing it back to like, I don't want to brag or anything, but I have a really good like support system, like home wise and family wise. Like my parents are very open with me and my sister as well. So I think like when they brought up like, like you're kind of you never used to like act like this, like you're not like happy around this person anymore. Like you're not yourself, like essentially. So I think it definitely takes, other people's discernment to kind of people who know you best really to like make that call for you and like tell you straight up, and whether you're like open to hear it or not is entirely up to you, like because you can't like help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like it's different if somebody's, I'm sad, I don't know why, like why am I in this toxic relationship, why am I sad, is different than like I know this is toxic, I don't care, this is all I want, you know.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
like how you said that because I think there's another side of that coin where
Hmm.
other people can perceive you and be like, hey, you're just you. This is just how you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you know deep down, actually, no, this is not me. This is not who I am. And that's like another thing that you have to distinguish. I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
I
sometimes you
think,
can't even tell. I think the like lines blur when you're in love or in a relationship, you just want to like please that other person, and
Hmm.
you know and also just keep up like that, like social construct of a relationship. You want people to like seem like everything's perfect because that's how you want to perceive it yourself. You know what I mean? Like you want to be happy in your relationship and you want other people to like see you're happy in your relationship. You know what I mean? Like no one, you don't want anyone to like talk down and be like, oh, they're so toxic to each other. Like that's not what you want, you know? But I think that, deep down, like you will know if you're happy with that person or not.
When you were
Hmm.
like that irrational thing you were talking about,
Yeah.
when you were going through that, were you able to see yourself as irrational then? Secretly, were you able to tell, okay, I'm a bit
No,
irrational?
that was the thing. Like not at all.
Huh.
Cause like, like I would like work and like study and then like study and just go out like with him afterwards. Like I'm not like a party or anything like that, like by any means. But it's just like, okay, I'm like forcing myself to go to this club even though I hate going to the club or like just to be with him. You know what I mean? But like in my head, that's like, oh, this is like what a girlfriends do. Like it's just like all
Mm,
about sacrifice or whatever. But it really just took my mom like telling me like you're not happy. Like you're
yeah.
not happy,
I love how you say
Like
that. When you go to those places that you have no interest in going to, that's saying something. It's saying something deep.
yeah, it's like you don't even want to be here and it's like the club's not serving you. Like what are you like not yeah, like you're not doing anything. Like it's not bettering your
Oh
life any
man.
just going to please this person, like that's like irrational.
hmm There's this line in BoJack Horseman, the TV show. Uh, one of his girlfriends, when she's breaking up with him, she says something like, "You know what's funny? When you wear rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags." And I thought that was so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Do you have
That's
any
a
input
good
on that,
one.
Dan? Yeah,
No, I'll say no, that's a good one. Yeah.
it
I
is.
feel like when you're in like that state of mind or yeah, like when you put the rose tinted goggles on, yeah, a lot of obvious things just become oblivious to you and you just don't realize it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, he has a girl best friend. Like, oh my gosh, he's like so in tune with his like femininity. Like, no, that's not what it means. Yeah.
You know, so okay. You guys know I love mythology, so I'm just speaking some mythological terms here. I'm just curious to bounce back some ideas. Do you guys ever feel like you've been hit by an arrow from Cupid and you're like, damn, this is not the right arrow. I need to take this arrow out of me. Does that ever happen to you? Where you kind of like someone, but you're like, I don't think I should like this person.
Like a criminal or something?
No, no, not a criminal. It's just like
Oh, yeah.
someone that you're drawn to, and you're like, actually, I don't think I should be. Take back your arrow.
Hmm. Let's
I
see.
think when you fall for somebody, you don't even know like what you're getting yourself into most of the time. Like you can't tell how your relationship is gonna play out. You just think you're like, oh, I like this person. Like, let's give it a go.
Yeah, I would say like the same. Like I don't have like that immediate reaction where it's like, oh, I'm in love with this person. It's more like, oh, I want to hang out with this person some more. They seem really cool, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and that in that stage, in that phase that you guys are speaking about, do you
Hmm.
ever feel like, oh, I don't like you do, but you also secretly don't want to? Do you ever fall into that?
I think it more so like towards the end when you're fighting a lot and you're out of that honeymoon stage and things happen in the relationship that you didn't think would ever happen to you with this person or um like there's always like bad things that happen in a relationship but you don't think that your partner's going to be the one to show you them. So I think in that instance then yeah you're like okay this is bad they've hurt me but I'm just so in love I'm just going to like give this another shot and that's when you start giving them like all those chances like time and time again and then I think that's when it just takes somebody else to just pull you out honestly.
Mm. When you guys are afraid Do you need someone else to pull you out, or do you guys pull yourselves out yourselves?
Mm,
Depends on the situation for sure. Because, you know, like certain things, you can only help yourself and like certain things. Like, I know for me, when there's just like something I like seriously can't handle, like I just, you know, pray on it.
It's all you can do at the end of the day, eh?
Yeah. But honestly, I lean a lot to my mom, my brother to help me for whatever reason. And I'm not shy. Like, I'll reach out to like mentors or people. Like, if it's just like work or school related, people who know more than me, obviously, are always like a good source to help you. So,
Are
oh
you
my
guys
god.
ever afraid to ask for help?
mm. Like for me, no, usually not. I'm pretty open to that idea. Uh, where like if I know I'm in like a dire state or like I need help with something, I usually like reach out. But I know like everyone's different with like their boundaries and like their independence and pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, like, I don't think it's like hard to reach out for me because it's just like, oh, like I'm just asking like a question. And usually I really don't reach out unless I genuinely am super lost or don't know what to do. Like in school, especially, like you know, like some people talk to the professor like often, like after class, whatever, which is like a good thing. Like you should do that. But me personally, it's like I only ask questions if I'm like stuck on a practice problem or something like that, where I'm just like actually lost.
Mm.
Mhm.
Do y'all ever
Sometimes
like
I
reach
get,
out? Oh, sorry.
yeah, I just wanted to say, sometimes I get like, I find it difficult to ask for help sometimes because there's that ego where, oh, I don't
Mhm.
want these people to perceive me any less. And
I
so
feel
you're
that.
kind of afraid of them passing a judgment over you. So you just rather not ask and see the storm through, even if you drown. So I think it's an
Mhm.
interesting thing.
I think for
But
me,
like,
like you also don't want to be like somebody's like you know, Dan mentioned this as well when we were speaking before. Like you don't want to burden anybody like with your issues. Like everybody's like going through something. So it makes it hard to ask. Like imagine like somebody's like family member passed away and they don't tell you, but then you're like reaching out to them like, oh, like how do I get over my breakup? Like, bro, they just like lost a family member. Like they don't care about your relationship, you know?
mhm. Yeah. But I was gonna say like it is like definitely like hard on both ends, but I feel like it's always like a good thing. It just depends on who you ask. Like I feel like with for you, Omar, um like if you're scared they will pass judgment on you, would you say like you're talking to like the right people or friends in that regards? Because I feel like if they were like really good friends, they wouldn't like at all. They'll be totally fine to help you, you know?
Yeah, that's an excellent point you make. I think what it is sometimes is with, I think if I, yeah, that's a very good point you make. Well, one thing I'm thinking about is say like counselors. And
Hmm.
I don't think counselors do a very good job doing their job, at least in my experience. They're not all that interested, they're not all that smiley, and they don't really care. And they just kind of want you out. And
Yeah.
that's demeaning, you know? And that's not something I'm fond of. So from like that regard, I do see those people as wrong, as wrong people.
Hmm. Yeah. It it definitely is hard to like find that like right person for that. That's why like I know like a lot of people who go to like therapy or like see a counselor, they say like you definitely gotta like try around, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I also think that they're so, like, especially in like the education system, they're so used to seeing multiples of the same case. Like when I walked in, oh, you're pre-med? Okay, do this, do that, and then you boom, you're out the door, right? And then there's so many kids like with the same stresses, the same dreams, that they all have to filter them out the same way. Like that's how they compartmentalize certain people. Like they don't care about what's going on in your life. They just, care about you graduating and you paying the school.
It's ridiculous.
hmm
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Was there something that you guys had on your minds that you wanted to say? That you felt like you didn't get a chance to say? Something, anything you wanted to express or discuss? A question, an answer?
mm mm
Much, just like if y'all ever want to talk about stuff, I'm always here. Like I don't really like pass judgment. Obviously, if you're like, oh, I want to like murder my grandma, I'm gonna be like, ooh, I don't know. Like I'm gonna be like, yikes. Obviously, there's like little things like I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to like me personally. It's nice having like guy friends because they're more, you know, blunt about things. Like they'll tell you straight up versus like sometimes like your girlfriend. I know like my girl's best friends like definitely like sugarcoat stuff like a little bit. Just
mm
they don't want to hurt your feelings, but not that guys want to hurt you guys want to hurt my feelings, but I think
mhm,
having you know different perspective on things. Like I'm always here to talk about stuff.
I
mhm.
appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say like
same.
I was gonna say like I'm just like yeah, I'm also really happy that we were able to talk again because yeah, like after Orgo, it really did felt like we were just like drifting away. But like, that's like fine. We still see each other with like how I was able to like still remember each of your stories, like you guys are like on my mind still, even though we don't talk at all.
Oh yeah, you guys
It's
are always on.
crazy.
Like, I pray for like y'all every single night. Pray for my friends, like health, and hoping that you guys are doing well. And in my mind, it's like not even like drifting apart. It's just like life gets so busy. But I think that's like another beautiful thing about like you know the way we met as well, or like how you attract the same people is because like we have things to talk about, like with school and stuff like that, and like we bond over like stuff like that as well.
hmm
Yeah. And it's really cool that
Like I was
all
out
of
there asking Omar for questions on the exam, bro. I was Omar, what's number 6?
I think it's cool that you guys are mentioning these things because there's many different reasons why I created this podcast. And one of them is definitely to preserve conversations like these. It's like, oh, there was a conversation. It kind of went all over the place, and there were moments of silence, but there wasn't anything awkward about it. It was just real people talking. So I just think it's a really cool thing, and it, in some way, it keeps people connected too. Like, oh yeah, we have that point of reference.
Yeah,
So
and I like how you
hmm
told us like one time, like the reason why you're so creative in your work and the things like you make and stuff, because it's like what you put out there is like your legacy, like basically is what you taught us. So it's like, okay, our conversation is like, say, like, even if no one watches it, like, it doesn't even matter if nobody, like, anyone watches it, or if they don't like what they heard and they're like out here hating, disliking it, whatever, or nobody even watches it, right? It's just like, it's still out there for us to like look back on and encapsulate. Remember, like, oh, this point in time, like, that's the things we enjoy talking about.
yeah, it's our testament to our time and reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
absolutely. There is one thing I wanted to mention. I've been meaning to get it off my chest for so long. My one of my favorite lines from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Ant-Man says, "My whole life happened because I messed up." And I just think that's so cool. that even if you do kind of like, make mistakes, you can make something beautiful out of that. So I think it's just a really cool little thing to share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do believe it's like what you make out of your life, that like really matters. It's not all of like your faults or failures. It's just like what you do with it now.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's like one thing y'all taught me too is just like living more in the moment. Stop stressing about like future things that's just way far too ahead and yeah, just being more happier day by day. And yeah, I
Hmm.
think it's definitely like improved how I see things and just like mentally how I feel about myself.
Yeah,
Wow.
because like I was gonna say like with like grades, I know like I used to stress out about like grades a lot. Um, but like, like looking like ahead of it is just like I think I'm like I take like a lot like kinder approach to it now, whereas like what I get is what I get. Um, and like a friend of mine, he's like always on top of it. Like he's like calculating everything. I know like on like the biochem exam he had, he's like, oh, I need to make this on the next exam to get an A. I'm like, this is too stressful. I can't like live like this. And
Yeah, taking it one day at a time is the way to go.
hmm
Yeah, my aunt always told me it's like life is like building blocks, like you put one brick a day, you'll eventually build a strong wall.
Yeah.
hmm
It's been many bricks since when we first met, but that's cool. Yeah, wouldn't have imagined to be here on spring break talking about Chinese ghost stories.
Dude, I know, or even just like staying in touch, because like honestly, there's been classes where I met like made homies and we do not talk anymore. Like it was like deuces after the class ended.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
But I was like, yeah, I remember like when I met Omer at like the coffee shop at U of H. I was saying like we need to like meet together and like celebrate though. Like definitely like after biochem or something, we gotta get
Yeah.
together.
We should do
Yeah.
something for spring break, like I don't know, go to the
Oh.
rodeo or something.
I'm actually
Get in
going this
touch
Sunday.
with the
Are
Texan
you really? I was gonna go
heritage.
this Sunday.
You were? Well,
Yeah.
oh, I'll message you, bro.
Wait, what
Oh,
time are we going?
Omer,
I think we're going after the sundown.
sundown. They're probably gonna be there like from like 12 to like who knows. But like if you tell me when you're gonna come, I can like wait. I'll like chill there.
It's like, I'll just wait.
No, no,
Are you
I have
bringing
like friends
on?
there.
Are you
I
bringing
am.
on?
I
Okay,
am.
cool.
I am. Yeah. So you can be there.
That's cool.
Yeah. hmm
Dude, that's so
You
cool. Like,
coming?
I feel like I'm meeting like my like brother's girlfriend or something. Like, it's like that feeling.
hmm
Like, you don't want to embarrass Dan and like make him feel like, this is like my friend.
This is a mistake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
hmm
But yeah, good things for sure. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you, Omar, is like, how do you not get afraid of like, like posting things or like making things, like, you know, or like, how do you bring it to yourself to create like these different works and like put it out there?
I got no stakes in it. I was talking to my friend and he asked me, dude, how do you how do you sing and put it out there? And I'm like, dude, I got no stakes in it. And it translates to the rest of my creativity as well, where I've created so much and sometimes you expect that, oh, like if I do this one thing, it'll change everything. But then you
Mm,
realize when you do it and you realize, whoa, it didn't really change all that much. And you do it again and again, kind of like the thing I was talking about with goals, right? You
mhm.
can accomplish all these goals and live goal to goal to goal, and then realize that it's not as shiny, it's not as precious once you do it. And so I just
So it's
don't
like
have my stakes in anything. I just put it out there and I just do it and it goes where
it's
it
like no
goes.
expectations, kind of. Like you don't
Kind
have like
of.
the expectation that you just put it out there. Like I'm happy with this. I made what I made, and whatever. Like that's how you feel,
Yeah.
kind of.
There definitely needs to be like an element of sincerity to it. So like
Mm.
in this conversation, we've talked about so many different things that I think are like sincere and genuine and cool. And if somebody actually hears them, they'll find something in that. And so it's like that's good enough for me, you know. It is what it is. It's just out there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I know like I had this conversation with a friend as well, like um getting like different meaning or messages from like different medias. Um, like a very popular one, I guess, is like Evangelion. It's like it's an anime that has like a very like open ending, and like me and my friend had like two completely different ones, but also many people came to the same conclusion as well, like on how they saw the ending. So in that way, I'm like, it's like what you take out of it is like for yourself and like what like really matters, you know?
Yeah. Do
Do
you
you ever
think
get
that
scared though? Like, what if someone just like hates on you?
yeah, someone has hated on me.
Oh,
And
dang.
it was so funny. It was so interesting because they were just talking to me like face to face.
Really?
And
Dang.
yeah, and I just kind of stood there in silence as they rambled on and on and on. And like I like softly smiled because the interesting thing about the people that hate on you, especially like in that experience that I had, is I got to see that person's insecurities. Like the only reason they were bashing me was
Mhm.
because they're not able to do that. They're not able to do what I do. And I mean, it's sad that they would kind of go to that level, but we're all just different people, you know? And I just think if you don't have anything good to say, anything constructive to say, just be quiet because I think it just does you more harm than it does good. But yeah, I've experienced that, is what it
It makes
is.
you feel like how did you deal with that instead of like internalizing it, or did you internalize it?
It did piss me off for a bit. It definitely did. Well, again, when I kind of saw it for what it was, I was able to like relax and let go, withdraw.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, like your entire we've mentioned this in this conversation. Not everybody's gonna like you, and you just kind
Mm-hmm.
of have to deal with that. So you just do what you do, and the people that you want to attract will come, and everybody else just kind of goes away.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, because like I know like people always like say like, they're like people you don't like care about, so why should you care about what they say to you?
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of people also like especially like on like people who are like bigger on social media, where they're like there's like a bunch of like nameless faces like saying like, oh, like maybe like bad things about them, and it like takes a lot out of like their mental like stress in life,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it's just like it always just feels bad. It goes with like that saying, it's like, oh, you can like shake like 100 hands, but like you will remember the person that slapped you in the face, you know?
Ooh, I
It's
like
like,
that. And thank you for sharing this because I wanted to mention it's not like I'm invincible. It's not like people can criticize me and it won't mean anything to me. I was talking to a pastor and I was telling him, I've been rejected for all kinds of things in my life over all these years, right? And you would
Mhm.
think that after experiencing all this rejection over this period of time, that I'd grow such thick skin that any rejection, any refusal wouldn't hurt me. But that's not true. It's like my skin could still be very thick, but if someone rejects me or refuses me, it's still gonna hurt because I'm a human being. And it's just like, how do I deal with that? It's like an ongoing process.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
How do
yeah,
you
so I
deal with
guess
that, Nicole?
Well, thinking back to like what Dan said, it's like, like after like my pageant and everything, it's like all these people like me, and then they tell you, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. You're this, you're that." Obviously not right now because I don't got makeup on and my hair's not done. But like, like all those people that tell you those things, it's honestly just like a blur. But like, I will always remember the girl that told me I had a big nose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it does.
hmm.
That's so true. Like, it just sticks with you.
Definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss in these final few minutes?
Just a
Mm-mm.
summary. Put stuff in your chairs, people. So
So
like
Yeah.
that's,
most
that's
quotes
the
in there.
true moral of the story.
Moral
Follow
of the
your
story
heart.
is cover up the mirrors in your house when you're sleeping. Close all the doors.
Hmm. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I just want to say, like, yeah, we should definitely hang out more. Like, maybe like arrange just to eat out or something. That'd be really nice.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
always think it's so cool when like I have different friends meeting different friends. That's actually like another like goal with the podcast, like friends meeting friends. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I'd be down for that. It'd be a
I was
cool
scared
thing.
when Dan
So
came to my birthday. I was scared he's gonna think my friends were rowdy or like degenerates, but I think he got along with them. I think so.
Hmm. No, no, they're cool. They're really cool. Um, I was talking to one of them about like Gundam. That was like very interesting as well. I remember that. Anyway, uh, but yeah, we should like set a date, like maybe spring break. If we can even like do rodeo. Actually, no, I can't do anything after that. But
Oh,
we should set a time though for like spring break maybe.
yeah, we can grab like dinner or something for sure.
Mhm. That'd be really nice.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
we'll text about it. We'll text about it.
There you
Hmm.
go.
All right.
Well,
It
Yeah.
was talking to you.
yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here, joining me for
Hmm.
this feature episode that went all over the place, but definitely has its gems. So thanks. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, take care, eh?
Yeah. Bye. You have a lot of editing to do, huh?
Bye.